All right, welcome everyone to Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden, and I'll be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about the recent blog post, how to start a new task. And in our current world, we have so many different options, right? We can go do this, we can go do that. Our smartphone opens up so many doors for us. There's just so much for us to do on any given day. But how do we start something new? Because we can easily be distracted, right? We have seen that over and over again. Our smartphone, our friends, our television sets, there's just so many different things that can distract us. So how do we start new tasks that are going to be void of those distractions? That is what we're going to be talking about today. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and to do all those things that videos like. And look at what we did today. Today is episode 100 of Coaching in Session. And when I started in August of last year, 2021, who would have thought I would have been 100 episodes in? And I have been an avid podcast listener since 2018. And it was such a wonderful personal development path for me to take because I would find programs that had the knowledge that I was seeking, whether it be for money or just personal development, relationships. There were so many different things that these podcasts helped me with. And of course, they're free. Now, of course, if you have like a subscription-based podcast like Spotify, for example, then you're going to be paying some type of money to get the ad-free type of service. And I don't necessarily mind that, but it's people sharing their wisdom, people sharing their knowledge. And how important is it for people to share what they know with other people? Because that's what community is. Community comes together as a coalition and saying, hey, I have all this wealth of knowledge. Let me share it with you. And when that happens, people can say, all right, now that we have all this knowledge, now we can be better. And what's happening in our current society is that we have people either spreading misinformation or people are just not looking at someone else's knowledge or wisdom as something that they can use, because everyone has become more selfish in a sense where they're aware of what they believe, what they know, how they should be, and not rather where the world is going. Because how my brain is, I look at cause and effect. If I do this, what is the outcome? If I learn from this person, what is the outcome? And I just look. There's going to be your perspective that comes into play. When I look at something, am I looking at, okay, is the world on fire or is the world positive and optimistic? That viewpoint is going to help you see any new task in the right manner. And I had to speak on that because when we start a new task, we have to see it as this is something that's going to bring something good in my life. Because if you just say, well, I'm doing a new task, I don't really want to do it. Now we're looking at the negative side, so we don't necessarily see the positive. So we're trying to see the positive. And here I have 7 different steps. I have 7 different steps that are going to be helping you figure out how to start a new task in today's blog. So let's get into that blog and learn those 7 new steps. So today's blog that just came out is going to be talking about how to approach a new task. And a TUS is going to be your tune-up series. And I created the tune-up series, I believe, in 2019. And the goal for the tune-up series was to help people who either have got coaching from me or people who are trying to figure out a way where they can get high-quality advice without paying. Because not everyone has the money for coaching, and I will say that. And it's not the sense that they're doing bad in their life that they can't afford coaching. It's just that everyone has a different situation. So I made the tune-up series and it comes out once a month. And of course, if you want to get the tune-up series directly to your email, sign up on my website, revenconcepts.com, and you can sign up for the newsletter and you can receive the blog posts that come out and especially the tune-up series. So there's going to be a lot of good things in these tune-up series and you always want to stay tuned for when they release. So looking at the blog today, how to approach a new task. And it is a lengthy one, right? Because when I write the tune-up series, the goal is to give you as much advice as I can in one article. So it is a lot of data. And today I'm going to do my best to break that down for you in a different perspective. Because if you're new to the channel, of course, you know that when I do the podcast, it's going to be different than exactly reading the blogs word by word. So the steps that we're going to be talking about or covering today are going to be how to approach a new task. Step 1 is going to be know your goal. Step 2 is going to be break down the goal into small steps. Step 3, create a schedule or routine. Step 4, know simple tricks to recharge. Step 5, place a task behind the initial task. Step 6, find someone to hold you accountable. And step 7, don't give up. And we're going to be breaking down those 7 steps right now. So you might think, okay, well, these 7 steps are basically self-explanatory, but I can't tell you how many clients that I get and we have to walk through the process and I'm basically holding their hand. And it's not that they're not intelligent people. It's just that we are challenging the mind, because now we're going into a realm where we're saying, hey, buddy, I'm going to do this. And the brain is like, well, I don't really want to do this new task because it's a lot more energy. And especially if you don't know the content that's coming into this new task, that's another set of knowledge you have to learn. So for example, right now I'm creating a new website, and that website is a different platform. Now I was on Squarespace, now I'm moving to WordPress. You can imagine the difference between Squarespace and WordPress. Huge difference. Now Squarespace is it's like a beginner type of website. You go in, everything is easy to understand, everything is laid out into boxes, but you don't get as much customization as you do with WordPress. So now I'm in WordPress and I'm looking at all these different things that I can do, and it's a lot. But it's a new task, right? It's a new type of learning that I have to undergo. So the task of me creating this website is going to require me to have an understanding of how I want the website to look. And then, of course, understanding all the front end and the back end. So the goal for me is, of course, to get a good functional website that is better than my Squarespace website. And it's just me learning it. Now, if you have a goal for getting in a relationship, that's going to be a different type of goal. Right? If you have a goal for getting a promotion or getting more money, that is a different type of goal. Whatever task you give yourself, we have to know what's the goal behind it. So for relationships, you want to be in a relationship. For money, you want to maybe have $100,000 in the bank. Whatever your goal is, right? We write it down. After you have written down that goal, then we can go into step 2. Because we now know the goal and we know our aim, we have some direction. And many people skip this step and they have no direction in life. They basically say, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what to do. And that's because they don't have a goal. They haven't given themselves a goal. Now that we have our goal, we have to trick our mind, because our mind is so smart, right? In the sense of it says, well, I understand you want to do this new task, but guess what? I'm trying to conserve energy. So I'm not really going to get you motivated. I'm not going to help you out with this new task. That's on you, because I'm trying not to burn any extra energy. What do we do to trick the brain, right? Because the mind and the brain are just going to say, well, we don't want to do this task. So we need to trick it. And the way we trick it is by making it so approachable where the brain doesn't even see it as a challenge. So for example, let's say we wanted to get in shape. What do you think would be an approachable task for the brain? Well, now, of course, going to the gym might be a big step for some people. So if going to the gym is a big step for you, then we don't go to the gym. We say, you know what, let's walk first. Let's go around the block once. Maybe you walk to the mailbox, and we just tell the brain, this is a workout. That's all we have to do. We just tell the brain this is a workout. Even if you walk to the mailbox every single day and don't call it exercise, just start by saying, I'm going to do some exercise. Maybe you have a staircase in your home and you're going to deliberately walk up the stairs, down the stairs, and you're going to call that exercise. There is nothing wrong with that as long as you label it exercise. Now, you can, of course, watch a YouTube video or you can get some type of trainer to help you along the way. But the initial step is to Start small, the smallest step. From that walking to the mailbox or walking up the stairs purposefully, now we can say, okay, I would like to walk around the block. So we walk around the block. And if you have kids, you can bring your kids. If you have a spouse, you can bring your spouse. Make it a team effort. And while you're walking, have a conversation. Walk with a friend. It's going to be more fun and enjoyable when you're doing it with someone, especially someone you care for. So we make that a small step. Now, for example, let's look at money. If you want $100,000 in the bank, how do we get that? Do we get a deal and we get $100,000? That's possible, right? But let's be more approachable, because sometimes the subconscious brain is going to get in the way and is going to say, you want $100,000? How are you going to get that? You don't even make 50. And that's a year. So the subconscious brain is going to be trying to get in your way. And what we have to do is not let the subconscious brain see it as an obstacle or see it as something that's not plausible. So if we want $100,000, we say, you know what? I'm going to save $100 this month. And we figure out how to save $100 this month. So now that we saved $100 this month, now we can say, okay, we saved $100 this month, and now we're going to just do this for a few months. And now by the time we're done in a few months, you saved a couple $100. Now, of course, we can speed that up as much as we want. We can say, I would like to save $100 a week, $50 a week, right? Whatever you need in order for you to feel comfortable that you're saving, and then at the same time, you're making progress, right? And we just do it subconsciously. For example, if you're getting your check from the government, if you're a W-2 employee, you're going to get your check. The taxes are automatically taken out. Now, of course, you're going to maybe look at the gross and say, oh my God, this is the money I could have had. But at the same time, we work with the money we have. So when we cash that check, it's not about the gross anymore. It's about the net. And so we are looking at what we're able to accomplish, what we have of our resources. So when things are taken out, we notice them, then we forget them pretty quickly. So if we have a system in place where we're just doing things and we're not really paying attention, then guess what? We are still doing good things. Let's say instead of driving to the school to pick up your children, especially if you're going to be close by the school, why not walk? Walk and pick them up and then walk them home. That's your exercise. And even though you're doing a task, picking up a child, it relates to exercise. So there's different ways we can do different things. We just have to trick our brain. This next step, the third step, is going to be something I do with every client who comes in and they basically are trying to figure out what they're going to be doing, whether it be their purpose, starting a new task, trying to find happiness. We look at step 3. And that is to create a schedule. Because when you create a schedule, guess what happens? We control our day. We all have 24 hours in a day. Why is someone who's rich and famous, right? What did they do different? And of course, we can say, oh, they got lucky and, we're not as lucky, and we can complain and moan. But that doesn't necessarily mean that can't be ours too. Now, I'm not saying you want to be a movie star, and I'm not saying that you want to be rich and famous, because you don't have to. But if you want to, that option is available to you. It's just that you have to put in a certain amount of work. Now, positions like actors and movie stars and being, like the Hollywood star might have a little bit of luck put into play. But at the same time, if you put in the effort and you put in the dedication, you're going to be noticed. So many people don't want to put in the initial work, so then they don't get noticed, and then they complain that life is not fair. Well, what's fair about you not doing anything and you getting everything in the world? Well, what's not fair about you doing nothing and you getting nothing? It's the same exact thing. You have to make sure if you want something in your life, you have to do something in life too. You have to put in the work. And when you have a schedule, you see right in front of you what work you have to put in order to accomplish your goal, which was step 1. And we see along the way also what is our habits, what are our habits? And those habits are going to help us realize, well, we're wasting a lot of time. Because if we say at 8 o'clock, we come home and we watch TV for 2 hours before bedtime, why not say, okay, well, we can still watch TV, but let's watch maybe 1 hour at most, if that's the case. So then now you say, okay, I'm watching 1 hour of television, but then you move on to do something more productive, your goal. And then we go into step 4, simple tricks to how to recharge. Because when we're trying to recharge, we're trying to figure out how can we keep on going. Now, we had a podcast a few weeks ago, how to prevent burnout. And that podcast is helping you trying to figure out, well, let's not burn out. And we do need to avoid burnout, but we also need to learn how to recharge. And in this tune-up series, we're learning how to recharge. So we need to figure out, how do we recharge? And everyone is going to be different. Some people need to go fishing. Some people need to go to the spa. Some people need to watch TV. Some people need to go out with their dogs. Some people need to go play with their kids. Some people need to go to work. It doesn't necessarily matter how you recharge. Just understand how you recharge. Because many people don't even realize what they do recharges them or doesn't recharge them. Many people think after a long day of work, oh, I had a long day of work, I'm going to come home and I'm just going to sit on the sofa. That's how I recharge. Yes, and though you come home and you limit your energy expenditure, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're recharging, because the program that you watch can actually be draining, especially if you come home and you watch the news and you're just looking at all the propaganda and all the conspiracy, and you're looking at it and it's just draining you away. It doesn't recharge you. It makes you worried. It makes you negative. So that negativity is a heavy thing to have. And we don't necessarily want to have too much negativity in our life. So we need to make sure that we're doing things that recharges us. And when people come to me and they say, oh, I'm a procrastinator and I don't do this and I don't do that, and I just ask them, how do you recharge? And they say, what do you mean by that? I'm like, well, what do you do to make you feel like you're energized? For me, that's going to the gym. I go to the gym Monday through Friday. And if I don't go to the gym 5 days out of the week, I feel more lethargic. I don't have energy. And you would think, well, you're going to the gym and you're using energy and you're getting tired, but it actually gives me more energy. And maybe it's a certain food too. If you are eating certain foods, you get more energy. So if you're just eating crappy food like McDonald's, Burger King, Chick-fil-A, even though it tastes good, right, and it's quick and easy, it doesn't necessarily mean it gives you the nutrients and the energy for you to recharge. Now, there's going to be little tricks that people can use to recharge quickly. And I like to limit those because we don't necessarily want to be on our smartphones all day. So if we're trying to do a task, our goal, and we're doing everything we're supposed to, and we get to the point of like, okay, I'm getting tired, I'm running out of energy. How do we recharge? You can spend 5 minutes, and you only need 5 minutes to be honest, how to recharge your tank. And you can watch a YouTube video, you can listen to a podcast, you can watch a movie or something like that for 5 minutes, right? And studies have shown your brain is actually recharging and you're about 80 to 90% recharged. So of course you're not 100%. For that, you probably need some sleep, maybe a nap, something like that. But if we're trying to be the most effective we can, we take a 5-minute break. So we learn how to recharge. Maybe during the day and you're like, okay, I'm going to call my partner, my spouse, my friend, my brother, my mom. You call them for 5 minutes to saying, hey, I love you. And then we keep on moving. And then we keep on moving along with our day. That small moment can recharge us. And you just have to figure out your recharge cues and then follow those. Because if you can understand how you recharge, then you're going to be in a better shape for always staying active. And that's the nature of the game. How active can we be in our day? Because if we're going to limit ourselves in the sense of, okay, well, we don't have any energy because we're just going to come home and be a vegetable on the sofa, that's not going to help us, right? We need to make sure we have some type of action and not just being idle for hours and hours at a given time. So it's going to be different, right? The new task is going to require us to take action, not have inaction. And then we look at step 5. And step 5 is going to be one of those missteps that many people don't even think about putting in, because everyone is so focused on the goal, on one thing. And once they reach it, they go, well, what the hell do I do now, right? They got there, they did all the work, but they don't have any type of ambition past it. And rightfully so, they didn't think about it. So we have to start to place goals behind the goal. So we place a task behind the task. If you have a task or a goal to get in shape, what is the goal or the task after that? Well, the task is now I'm going to maintain my body. How do I maintain my body? The task might be, how do I stay ahead and on top of my bills instead of falling behind? There's just so many different ways that we can approach a new task or a new opportunity. Now, if you are looking at this new task as something as being difficult or challenging, it's going to be even more challenging for you to start it, because now you're looking at it as, oh man, this is going to be too much. This is so much work. But something happens with our subconscious mind when we say, okay, well, we have this task in front, and then we have a task behind. If you make that task behind a little bit more challenging, it doesn't have to be crazy challenging. If you make that task a little bit more challenging, the subconscious brain does something. And it says, whoa, this is easy. The first task is easy, even though it's a lot of work. Now we say, oh, wow, like the first task is actually easier than the task behind it. And then I'd rather just do the first task. At least I got the first task done. And then when you get to the second task, you're like, oh, the second task here. But then you give yourself a more challenging goal behind that task. And then eventually your subconscious brain changes again. And it says, well, this task is actually not that bad. I'm going to work with this task because the task behind this task is actually terrible. It's crazy how the brain can be easily manipulated just by saying, well, this is easy. This is more reasonable. Let's get it done. And why do you think good cop, bad cop is so effective? It's because you have someone who's ridiculously going against your natural tendencies, right? To be calm, be at peace. And you have someone badgering you and yelling at you and demanding things from you. And now this person in your eyes is unreasonable. You can't work with this person. This person is scary. And now we're like, I don't want to talk to this person because this person is no good and I don't want to associate with this person. But then you have the good cop comes in. They bring you a coffee, they bring you a donut, and they ask, hey, how are you? How's everything? Are you being taken care of? And they worry about you. So now you open up a little bit, and then the good cop gets the information. It's because the subconscious mind was tricked. Before, in front, you had something that, this is a big task, right? But then once you replaced that obstacle with, okay, this is something I'm going to do, something easier, guess what happens? Now your brain is like, well, I'd rather do this than that. And then eventually you might have to deal with that. But you always give yourself a new task behind the task, a new goal behind the goal. So it's like a two-pronged attack. We are accomplishing our task, accomplishing our goals, but then at the same time, we're also becoming stronger. Because with each new task and each new challenge that comes in our life is going to be more challenging. So we have to rise to the challenge. So we're getting stronger as time goes on. Just like when you're in the gym, you might be only able to lift 100 pounds. But if you keep going to the gym, do you say my goal is 100 pounds? Do you say my goal is 110 pounds? So we know where we start and we know where we're going to be next. So we get 110 pounds and we say, whoa, we did 110 pounds. Great job. Let's move on to 125 pounds. And we keep going up. And then there's going to be a point when you say, okay, I'm comfortable at 225. There's nothing wrong with staying at a current weight, but then we have to give ourselves a maintenance, right? And that maintenance is going to be, I need to do this many sets of this, and I need to do it this way. Because if you just simply say, okay, well, I got here, what is the goal, right? So the goal is maintaining, but then at the same time, there's other areas that we can look on. And that goes a little bit more and deeper than this blog post and then the podcast we're talking about today. But if you're interested in going deeper into that type of mindset, head over to revenconcepts.com and we can get you some coaching. which leads to step number 6. Find someone to hold you accountable. Now, many people who come to me and they look for coaching, they're looking to be held accountable. And I'm sure you might have heard accountability coaches, right? And basically a trainer is someone who's going to hold you accountable. They're going to push you. They're going to keep on motivating you to keep on going and don't stop, right? Holding yourself accountable. Now, you can have a friend hold you accountable. You can have a family member hold you accountable, but it's not the same as having someone you pay hold you accountable. And the idea goes back to skin in the game. And skin in the game means you need to invest in yourself, whether it be time or money. How we have that is if we're investing our time or our money, we have to figure out which one is more valuable. And both might be valuable. So then, of course, if you're using both at any given time, then you're going to say, I'm going to be more likely to get this done. But even then, you might say, okay, well, I don't care about the money. I don't care about the time. What do we do? Right? And that's going to require someone to hold you accountable to a higher standard, higher regard. And if you have a friend or a family member, they're not going to hold you as accountable and push you as much as a coach, because again, they're your friend. They're, mom or dad or, wife or husband. They want to just say, hey, I love you and whatever you do, that's cool. Versus a coach, especially a motivational type of coach, they're going to say, get your booty in gear. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Right? Like a drill instructor. And they're pushing you, and regardless of what you want or what you don't want, they have the goal that you already established with them. And if you have that goal and we keep on going toward that goal, guess what happens? The results follow. Finding someone to hold you accountable is going to be a big portion of if you're going to succeed short term and long term. And step 7 is probably the most important one. Don't give up. And it sounds so simple. Don't give up. Because if you give up on any task, any goal, now we're just going to make it more challenging for the next time we start. Let's say you're just trying to do a new task and you just come to the conclusion that this new task is not for you, it's too challenging, it's too much work. And you say, I'm not going to do this task. And you stop and you give up. And many people do that in their careers. They do it in their relationships. They do it with fitness. There's just all those areas, right? And it all just ties back into mindset. When we see a challenge, what do we do? Do we say, okay, well, I'm just going to start something new, something fresh because it's easy, because fixing something is more challenging, whether it be a relationship, fitness, and you're running and you're like, I don't want to stop, and you stop and then you have to start running again. It's more challenging because the brain now is in a zone of this feels good. This feels better. I don't want to have that type of negativity, that type of turmoil and challenge. So the subconscious brain says, yeah, I'm not going to give you any more energy. I'm not going to allow you to push. Sometimes people come to me and they say, how do I get past that point? How do I get past that mindset? And I tell them it's a lot of work. It takes years to get past that mindset sometimes. So of course we can go on that journey, but the process is going to be something that's going to be unique for every single one. And that's what I do. I offer unique, customizable coaching programs for people. One program is not going to fit everyone in the world. So I figure out where you are, and then we make the changes that need to be made. So these 7 steps are a good way for you to get a head start if you can't afford coaching, if you have already had coaching, and you're just trying to stay on task. Because if you had coaching, these 7 steps should be basic for you. Basically, now you should be in the intermediate realm, and these are the beginner type of steps for you to remind yourself and then to keep on moving forward. Now, once we're making progress to any new task that we give ourselves, we need to keep on pushing. And if you find yourself multiple times not pushing, not starting, procrastinating, then it's probably time for you to get a coach, because you're just going to keep that type of cycle until you have a negative trauma in your life. What I try to do is to get people before they have that negative trauma, before they have that hardship, or before they have that last ultimatum. I need coaching because there's no other way. There is another way. Get coaching before there's that last ultimatum. So if you're looking for a change in your life, if you're looking to start new tasks or to complete old tasks or old goals, look no more. Head over to revenconcepts.com, sign up for coaching or sign up just for a consultation to see if it's going to be a good fit for you. And then we can get you started. Again, wow, episode 100 of Coaching in Session. And there's so much more to be talked about, so much more to be spoken about. The world right now is at a 50-50 split. Some people are going to see this new task type of mentality as, well, if the world ends, well, what do I have to do? I don't want to do anything. And rightfully so, right? But what happens if it doesn't end, right? What happens if there's so much more that needs to be done before we can call it quits? So starting a new task can start today, should start today. And if you're interested in getting coaching, you know where to go. I will see everyone on Wednesday for the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone take care.